What's going on, y'all, and welcome back to another Etheria restart video. We just wrapped up day 3, and surprise, surprise, it was another amazing day. Absolutely loving the game still. Those of you that are stopping by the streams or subbing and commenting on YouTube, thank you so much. I really appreciate every single one of y'all. But today, I want to focus on the selector, the targeted banner, which I'll show you guys right here. It's been a hot topic, and I think things have shifted drastically since previous betas because of balance changes, because of nerfs. I did mention this specifically in previous guide videos with like generic tips and tricks, but I really want to deep dive into this and especially talk about when you should hold off and why you should hold off until like a week and a half here, or why some of y'all might need to go ahead and break this glass in case of emergency and just bust out a unit right now to help you progress. We're going to go over all of that, so thank you so much for tuning in, and let's jump straight into it. First things first, let's talk about why a lot of you guys need to hold on to this targeted summon as long as possible, namely 14 days from the first time you logged in, as long as you're consistently logging in every single day. And some of y'all might know this, but the main reason is the 7-day login event here for Ling Luo, which we're going to get for free. And take note of this character, guys. If also you didn't know, we get one of the best healers for free on day 7. So make sure you're consistent on logging in and make sure you're doing all of these achievements. Not only do they give good rewards, but getting an SSR on day 7, one of the best healers, is really, really nice. Now, unfortunately, we can't see the rest, but you do see here, guys, that there is a Quantum prototype, an SSR free ticket, which essentially gives you a guaranteed SSR character, Animus, and that's going to be available on day 14 once you finish this. Why is that relevant? Well, if you use your targeted summon now, let's say you pick up a Tiamat, and then you end up pulling this character on day 14, a Tiamat as well. The dupe, of course, is never bad, and they do count in PvP, but we could have gone for a different targeted summon, right? And if you need more than one targeted character, it's going to feel a little bit bad there. Dupes in this game aren't as important as in other games. We would rather have a wider cast, a wider roster. So try and hold off as long as possible, 14 days. And that's going to be the best bang for your buck. And you might end up big time regretting if you just pull this way too early. Now, why do some of you guys need to pull right now? Well, I've been seeing on a lot of my live streams, a lot of questions being asked that a lot of you guys cannot progress right now in a lot of different modes. Let me go over some problem areas that I see people get stuck on. Some of the anti-sync echoes like Dahlia, which, you know, this one's a little bit farther in. So I understand the difficulty here. She requires a specific team, or at least a lot of buffs. You have areas, specifically, of course, the Threshold. A lot of people cannot clear Nightmare 3 of Termaton or Nightmare 3 of Doki Doki, let alone some people can't even clear up to Hard 3 of Terror or Hard 3 of Doki Doki. Now, Termaton, guys, I will say, since everybody has to invest into Lian, it's much, much easier, and we're not really going to focus on this boss too much. Trust me on this one. A lot of you guys just need to fix a few things here and there, and you'll be able to clear Termaton very, very easily. If you need extra help, please stop by my live stream. I've been helping so many people just tinker, fix a few things with their either team comp, their gearing, their shells, and they're able to clear it within minutes after I help. For Doki Doki, though, it's going to be a lot harder because the units that are good, especially the damage dealers here, are very, very few. One of them is like Messiah, who is an Apex character, which we're not going to talk about here because he's not in the targeted summon. And there's only one real relevant character, at least the green, that is good here, but there are a few other options. So let's go ahead and jump into that right now. All right, guys, I made a very, very brief and easy tier list here. Please, this is not a overall tier list. This is not conducive to like what's gonna end up in a month here on who's the best characters. This is what I think right now you should be taking for early progression, stability, comfortability. And this is just my own personal take, and it's from a lot of my previous experience with the beta, things that happened in the previous balance patch before launch. And honestly, I think it is pretty good, and I'll explain every single one of my choices here, okay? So if you disagree, understandable. I think a lot of these could be moved around here in a little bit, and all of these characters are very good, so don't get upset if I rated some of these characters very low. I'll kind of explain each and every single one. So let's go ahead and start from the top. Actually, you know what? Scratch that. Let's go ahead and talk about this bottom row real fast. And take note of Freya, guys, because I will be talking about her when a few characters like Tsukiyomi come up. But these two characters, Lian and Freya, are not available. Freya has limited banner currently out right now. And it's a little bit controversial on what I see a lot of content creators suggest on pulling or not on this. And, you know, maybe make a separate guide if you guys really want, if you still haven't decided on pulling her. But Lian, of course, is a free character, so she's not going to be available on there either. Now, a lot of y'all might be like, Car, why do you even bother putting this here? Obviously, no one's going to take the Ling character since she's free on day 7. you would be surprised how many people asked if it was a good idea to take Ling Luo on their selector, because maybe they looked at a tier list on like Pride Win, they see that she's the best healer, one of the best healers in the game, top tier, and they think they want to grab her now. Maybe they didn't realize that, you know, you get her on free for day 7. So do not take this ever unless she's your absolute favorite unit and you don't mind getting like a dupe for some reason on her. So let's go ahead and now take it from the top. And the number 1 pick, guys, and I had a feeling this would be it for most players, and myself included, it's going to be Real Mocha. Now, a lot of people did look out and got her on the permanent summon. I think the community has done a good job of telling players to pull a lot on the permanent summon. And that's going to be the main thing here, guys. Everybody's going to want to start and dedicate a lot of summons on the permanent banner and kind of just see who you can get, right? You're going to get some Apexes if you're lucky. You're going to get a lot of these units that you're going to see here. And then we're going to want to use our targeted summon, if necessary, on filling in the gaps of our roster. And Real Mocha is one that comes up a lot because a lot of times people did not get a Doki Doki carry, right? I showed that in game, that it's one of the most difficult places to get a damage dealer. And I think the main, I'm going to move the tier list around a little bit just to show you guys something. But I think people have seen that these characters right here, I think Pride Win, and then if you include like Messiah, I'll go ahead and grab them real quick. It's like this is what Pride Win lists this tier list as. Real Mocha, the clear winner, and it's definitely true. She is by far and away the best Doki Doki carry, even into Inferno. Messiah is up next, and then you have, I believe they list like, I think they have like Tiamat and Shiata as a step below, or maybe around Messiah's level, and then Rosa even lower than that. They also have things like Rahu. And I know some guides recommend like Rahu to clear, but trust me on this, at least for now, while our gear is not very good and it's still early, we don't have a lot of resources to invest in every character. I would be very careful on Rahu, trusting Rahu and Rosa to clear this early in Doki Doki, okay? Even though Rosa is a powerhouse monster, she needs so much investment that I don't think a lot of players, especially the average player, is going to be able to clear, and especially free to play too, is going to be able to clear like Doki Dokis right now. With Rosa as your main DPS, okay? So take note of that. Let me go ahead and fix the tier list, and we'll get back to the... we shall get back to the discussion. How did I have this? Oh, man, maybe I shouldn't have moved this around, but I think I had it like... something like this, I think, yeah. All right, things might have moved slightly, but I think it's overall pretty good. So, number 1, Real Mocha. If the main thing you want to look at is, do you have your dedicated team? So if you don't have that, if you didn't put like a Tiamat, a Shiata, or lucky enough to get a Messiah, you're going to want to just grab Real Mocha. Trust me on this. She's just going to make things so easy. And yeah, she's really only good right now in Doki Doki, but Doki Doki is such an important boss to farm for the speed sets that it's worth it. She's also pretty dang good right now in RTA, PvP in general. She can nuke entire teams if you set it up properly. Now let's go ahead and go into the next step down. And you're going to notice I have Rosa right here, even though I kind of mentioned that she takes a lot of investment and she can't clear Doki Doki right now. But it's okay because I think you still want... I still place her very highly because very soon, right, in like a week or two, we're going to have more resources to invest in other characters, and then Rosa is going to pop off. This character is absolutely busted in many areas of the game. PvP, Aurora boss, apparently can do Doki Doki once fully invested into. She just requires a ton of lattices herself, a lot of crit chance herself, and you want her team to also have crit chance, I believe, too. She just needs so much going for her, but once you make all those stars align, this lady is insane, right? Even Union boss, things like that as well, where usually you only see like Chloros. So that for that reason, guys, I'm going to say if you already have a Real Mocha or a Tiamat clearing your Doki Doki, if you already have your Doki Doki team set up, I think Rosa is one of the best picks possible, maybe the best pick possible if you already have that Doki team ready to go, okay? And the reason I have Tiamat and Shiata here is because both of these units alongside Messiah, I have already seen people clear Nightmare 3 as of yesterday, meaning they were able to jump into Nightmare 3 with bad gear, low investment, and go ahead and start mopping up the Doki Doki threshold boss. So Tiamat used to be like the #1 pick previously, but she's been nerfed more than once now, and I think she's really fallen from grace. Still an amazing unit, and is still going to be a powerhouse in PvP, but because of the constant nerfs, you may want to, you know, opt for some other picks instead right now. But that being said, I think she's still like #3 overall, and you could go for like a Tiamat pick if you just really like her, and you could use her as your carry in Doki Doki Threshold. Just keep in mind, you're going to want to bring some healers like Ling with her, maybe a Green Sonya because she needs a lot of sustain to carry alone. Shiata is interesting, and I wasn't sure if she could clear the Doki Doki, but I did look at some of the recent clears in Nightmare 3 yesterday when it was brand new, and I did see some people putting in some work with a solo DPS Shiata. So she is the real deal. She can do it. Just keep in mind, too, that she's going to be a lot harder to clear with than with Real Mocha, because you need to build the entire team around her, where Real Mocha kind of just slots in with a defense breaker, attack up, and you go to town. Shiata, you're going to have to, have a little bit more nuance and understand her kit. So just be aware of that, but she is good and she can work. Now, Kloss, after the Doki Doki stuff, if we don't need another Doki Doki DPS carry, Kloss is very good. The reason she may not be higher in the list, though, is because we have very accessible defense breakers in the form of units like Gray and Dina, right? So for those reasons, I think at least in the early game here, she's not as valuable. But that being said, as we scale into the late game, kind of like Rosa, or later on at least into the game, her value is going to go up because she's one of the fastest users in the game. She has defense break, but also provides a lot of utility with speed down and additional damage, or I believe it's damage protection, actually, damage reduction. So she actually makes your team even more survivable on top of it. So for that reason, I think she's a very, very strong pickup. Beyonce's an interesting one. I've seen some people do some really nice stuff with it. She has a very interesting kit where she provides buffs, and really importantly, she can provide revives for her squad as well. So if you think you can kind of cook with this character and you can kind of run out of the box teams where you're maybe going more gung-ho with damage, I think Beyonce can work in a lot of spots where you would run a typical, support comp with utility. Just keep in mind, kind of like Shiata, that you're going to have to vary your team comps a little bit and probably go gung-ho on the damage. Maybe you need some of the Apex characters, but if you think you can make her work, take a look at her kit. She's actually really, really crazy. Hellkid and Rahu are two like bruiser gods. Rahu got some buffs recently, and we all know Hellkid, or you should know that this guy is just like a PvP monster. He's very survivable, can almost, maybe not quite solo DPS Teramaton, but he provides a lot of damage there and provides a ton of sustain and survivability via the barriers. He's also good to just throw in any generic content, PvE content, and once again, PvP monster. Kind of same thing with Rahu after the buffs, but I rate him lower because I don't think he's as good in PvE as Hellkid. But both of these, if you pick them and you use them, they can be used in a lot of different content, PvE and PvP. Now, we jump into the B tier, and guys, honestly, Tsukiyomi, don't get mad at me. She could probably be up here in the A tier row, but for various reasons, namely the fact that a lot of players have Freya. And I'll go and tell you guys why I think Tsukiyomi is much worse than Freya here. And that's because of just the element typing. Their kits are actually very similar. They're both very good in a lot of different PvE areas. They're both good in PvP. But Tsukiyomi, unfortunately, her typing makes it so that she's only good in Doki Doki and cannot work in Teramaton. Whereas Freya can work in both because of her element type. And for that reason, in the early game, we really don't want to build two different units, and instead we can use Freya as our utility support in both bosses. So for that reason, if you have Freya, I think Tsukiyomi goes down in value. And additionally, if you don't have Freya and you don't have Tsukiyomi, you could just use Chiaki the Echo, who's an SR that's widely available to everybody, and then just pick one of these other units that I listed above. But I still put some respect on her name and have her very high up in this B tier because she is a strong unit. I just think she's kind of outclassed at the moment in this early game progression. Mia is a little bit similar, guys, since we're going to get Ling on day 7. She's a little bit different. She's not as strong of a sustain as Ling Luo. Maybe not even like Green Sonya could give her a run for her money, the SR right here. But she does have a few claim to fames with a specific utility kit. And I put her next to Veronica, guys, because her extra buff duration, and you can, if you have these two units together, there's actually some cheese comps you can do where you make your team immortal. And even if your clear is slow, you can actually cheese the most difficult bosses in the game in an Inferno by utilizing like the immortality and then buff durations with Mia. But these two characters in general, I think you're better off picking a stronger unit in the beginning, as they're more like niche scenario picks. So be careful picking these two right now, unless you really know what you're doing. Chloros I rate lowly, guys, because he's really only strong in Union boss at the moment. He's one of the highest, if not the highest, damage scaling unit in the game, alongside like units like Rosa when she's heavily invested. But at the moment, Union Boss isn't super important unless you're in like some crazy sweaty guild that requires you to push like the leaderboards. And maybe there's other content later where he's going to be very good. But at the moment, very niche, only usable in a content that's not extremely important, where we really want to just be progressing the PvE bosses instead. Born, I rate low as well because he's pretty much PvP. But guys, After the buffs, this guy is insane. If you value PvP, I think we put him up higher in the list. But for the fact that, honestly, let's just talk about all three of these together. Born is probably the best of the three for PvP, but a lot of these are just niche. They're all very strong in PvP, but not very strong in PvE at all. So I go ahead and rate all three of these low. And I know some people can cook with Celince, but I really don't think she's good for the average player. All right. So with that being said, guys, I think we'll go ahead and wrap things up there. Thank you so much as always. And if you need extra help on deciding what to pick, go ahead and stop by the streams and we can help you out. Thank you, everybody. And I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out, y'all.